the overall plan is to do a build out on the lot. The house sits on an acre. And so my goal is to put 4 modular homes on the same lot, do it the same sober strategy, and basically have like a sober living compound.
And those nights that you were like, damn, what do I do? And what made you not, quit? Let's say, obviously we know, but what
Right.
made you sustain through all that?
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, there was definitely some losses for sure. Some monetary, but more just time sucks, right? Like just
Yeah.
chasing the e-commerce, the drop shipping, all this stuff, which is just funnels for other courses to buy. And it's like, bro, this isn't helping me. And then, um, like once I found real estate, right, and saw the proof of concept, I was like, this is it. I don't care what it takes to get a deal done. It's gonna happen. It's not if, it's just when. And I'm just that kind of guy, right? Like the grit and determination's always been in me. I grew up skateboarding. I still skate, right? And I think it's cool to see like big dudes like Mikey Taylor and some of these other like pro skaters from way back when. Like I had their photos on my wall. Now are owned into like huge capital funds and stuff. But I think that mindset of a skateboarder, right? That determination to go and huck yourself downstairs for hours on end just to land a trick, and when nobody's watching, oh, my lights came off.
That's right.
I'll get up and turn them back
We
on.
see you.
But yeah, it's just like that determining just spirit in you, right? Like I'm gonna go until either my body gives out or I land it.
For
Right.
sure.
And so it's like same thing in business, is like there's too much evidence with everyone else that's killing it in this space. They're no better than me. They might
Right.
know more than me at the moment, but like if I keep going, it's going to work out. Right. And so that's ultimately what it was. It's just there's too much proof that I can do it. I just got to change and tweak something to get to that space.
Yeah, that's awesome perspective and the analogy of a skater, something that you can relate to, right? I'm gonna get this down. It doesn't matter. And like you said, when no one's looking, right? When no one
Right.
cares but you, right? You're the only one that's gonna bask in that enjoyment once you land that and hit that. That's what's up.
Yeah, man. And
Oh,
a
good.
motion sensor. So
Okay.
trying to save on the power bill out here.
You in the coffee shop?
Yeah, I'm at the shop.
Okay. What time you close there?
We close at 5, so anytime past that, it's office hours for me.
That's 7 days a week.
We are open Monday through Saturday, 7 to 5, and then on Sundays we do like truncated hours. So it's like I think it's 12 to 2. It's basically like the brunch crowd, maybe 9 to 2. Um, yeah, I don't work the weekends very much. I rarely work a shift other than the meetup. Right, I'll sling you a latte if you come out on at a meetup. But
So you do meetups
outside of
there?
that, we've got the staff and space. Yeah, we do one. It's the last Monday of the month, so I've got one coming up on the 30th. Um, and so just good time to network and drink some good coffee and hang out with your buddies. So
That's super sweet.
yeah, man,
You're killing the five birds and all that.
trying my best, brother.
That's hot.
Yeah.
I know you're a CPA, right? So do you think anything transferred from that to like just getting everything, or you partnered in with a CPA fund or marketing, something like that,
Yes.
right?
Yeah, my partner is a CPA. Yes.
Yeah,
I
that's
am
right. Yeah.
definitely not
No, no,
a CPA.
sorry, no, I thought I
All
saw
good.
that. I remember
Yeah, yeah,
CPA. I was trying to rattle
for
my brain.
sure.
That's my bad.
Yeah. So
But
my business partner, I actually met him in the free group
mhm.
before joining Sub 2. And we just had very complementary skill sets, right? Like I'm more the outgoing guy on the phone, locking up the deals, and he's the numbers guy, obviously. But he had more money than time, right? He's swimming in tax returns. He's trying to buy his time back so he can go spend time with his family. The money wasn't that big of an issue. Obviously, we all want to make some more to go do more things, make more impact, whatever. But I was like, hey, bro, I don't have much of either of those things, but I've got more time than you do. So like, why don't you fund our marketing? And then once the calls come in, I'll lock them up, I'll close them, I'll find a buyer, and then we just split the fees. And so he's like, that works perfect for me. Like, I don't have the time, and now I can basically make half of the money and do none of the work. Yeah, okay, let's do it. And so we've just stuck around since then. He's my ride or die. So now we do flips together. We have a couple rental properties together, and then obviously anything that comes through on the wholesale pipeline. But yeah, so I can lean very heavily on him as far as the numbers. Obviously, I know how to underwrite. I can do that stuff. I can raise capital. But when it comes tax time, everything's going to Scott, and I don't have to deal with it.
Love
That's
it.
awesome. It's
Yeah.
always like that's very similar to kind of Paul and my story. Honestly, like Paul had a lot more time. I was caddying. And we just started going. We saw a Jamil video. I was an agent for a year for right after COVID, so I know exactly what you're talking about with the working for another company, and then I
Oh
didn't want
yeah,
to do that anymore. So
for sure.
uh, I moved to Charleston, and now I was caddy. Excuse me. I was caddying full time here at the Ocean Course in
Hmm.
Kiowa, and Paul called me when he was overseas in Italy, and he was like, "You know about this wholesale and stuff?" I was like, "Hell yes, I do, but I want to do a little more research." And we made sure. And 2 years later, we're here. So I resonate a
Love it.
lot with what you're talking about, Adam. That's
Yeah,
so
man.
cool.
It's cool building a business with your friend too. And what I've realized is that you can build it with like so many different friends, right? Like I'm I'm actually taking a step out of my comfort zone and trying to learn how to raise capital, right? I'm doing it by just throwing myself out there, like you said, trying to put rubber to the road. And my big bro Mando has been helping Mike and I figure out the entire time, giving us feedback. You know what I mean? It's just like the most amazing thing in life is when you're able to be in a room full of all like-minded individuals that all want to help each other, all want to, accomplish that next goal.
For
And
sure.
just being able to like pour yourself into people, I feel is like so important because we're a product of our environment too. Like, like
Yes.
Ace has poured so much into us, Jamil has poured so much into us. And I feel like that's such a beautiful thing. And I want to, but on the other side, I also see like there's a lot of tension sometimes, and there's a lot of like, sometimes things don't always go to plan, right? And then you guys freak out as partners, or things are going really, really well, and you're like, I don't want to mess this up. I don't want to mess it up either.
Right.
And so for you and your partner in your business, how are you able to still keep the friendship and also work with each other? Has that ever been an issue for you?
So we weren't friends before. We met and became business partners first, and then friendship kind of came after the fact, right? So like we're leading professionally, but obviously like we have very similar interests. We have similar aged kids. They can hang out with each other. We're both big hockey fans, go to hockey games, all that kind of stuff. So like the vibe was there initially, right? Like in our dating relationship, right? When we're first just starting out talking. And then we're like, dude, yeah, we have similar goals. Let's make this happen, right? I don't know if it would have worked out the same way if it was like one of my buddies from high school that I brought along and be like, hey, bro, let's build out this empire. Probably wouldn't work out, honestly, because I know the kind of fights we got in just over stupid stuff, like what movie we're going to go see that weekend, right? But it's like, when we're dealing with this amount of capital, I don't know how that would go. Um, but I think for me, like I'm pretty laid back kind of person, right? And there's not a ton of super high highs, super low lows. I'm just very even keeled. Scott's very similar, and so I think that bodes well to the partnership too, because we're not really clashing much over things. Sure, we'll have our spats here and there, but yeah, it's never been anything bad. And I mean, we've taken some huge L's this year. I mean, well over 100K loss on a flip. Bad partnership. Not me and Scott, but we brought somebody else in a JV situation, and yeah, I mean, we've definitely taken some some hits to the chin this year. But if anything, I think it's just strengthened our partnership to know that like we're doing what we're supposed to do. There's these blind spots that me and you both missed, and this is how we can move forward, right? Like we got a master's class this year on what not to do. So next year is about to be crazy.
Yeah. So what that 100K loss? What did you see? Obviously, you take some responsibility where you think,
Oh,
damn,
for
I
sure.
should have did this, right?
Yeah.
I wouldn't know in hindsight, right? What are some misses that you saw there that maybe you weren't paying attention to that kind of presented themselves or didn't present themselves? Can you?
Yeah. Totally. I mean, the biggest thing, I got emotional, right? I'm buying 3 houses from the same seller on the same day, wholesaled one. We already had one funded. This other one's just kind of sitting out in the open. I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm not really getting much traction to wholesale it. I can see that there's potential to flip, but I'm out of cash. And these other lenders that I had on the shelves, they didn't have enough to cover the full amount. And at that moment, I should have just called up the seller and be like, hey, Mr. Seller, let's just do 2 out of the 3. When I finish this other one, I'll buy up the next one, right? Or I could just walk away. I didn't do that. I was just reaching out and talking and another buddy of mine, which was in a community outside of Sub 2, so first red flag, right? Because you don't know what's going on in these other spots. He called me and he's like, "Hey, bro, I've got this guy. He sees what you're doing. He's seen you on social, whatever. He wants to get into investing in North Carolina. You guys should talk." And so I was like, "All right, cool. Yeah, I mean, always looking to raise capital outside of this deal, just build a relationship." So we got on the phone. He's like, "Yeah, dude, I see what you're doing. I've got this $3 million line of credit. I can buy the houses for y'all if y'all just fund the rehab, and then we'll just split the fees." And I'd done that before locally, so I was like, "That sounds cool." He was a referral from another buddy of mine. Cool, but the vetting stopped there, and that was like huge for me. I should have, okay, you got this line of credit. Can you show me it? Where is that line of credit coming from? What, like, can you show me some past deals that you've done in this manner? Can you give me some character references outside of this guy? Because in the end, I'm pretty sure they were all running this Ponzi scheme where that line of credit was just a Kiavi loan that I could have went and got out myself, and I gave up half the deal. And then lots of other extenuating circumstances. He brought a gator in to fund the Kiavi loan and didn't tell me. Our rehab took way longer, so the first gator came due. I had to go and find another gator to replace him. And then we get to the closing table. He has to bring like $40K just to make us partially whole. And he's like, "No, I'm not doing it. And you can sue me. I'll just file bankruptcy." I'm like, "What is going on?" And it was hectic. And I would have called his bluff, honestly, but because I was the one that secured the relationship for the second gator, it was pretty much a guarantee that if this goes to foreclosure and Kiabi takes it over, gator number 2, my buddy, is going to lose all his money, and I'm not okay with that. And so we took it on the chin to salvage that relationship, which I would do it again today, because it's not that hard to do good business. And that guy's an advocate for me now. So, I mean, I know how to make the money back. It's just kind of stuck on this hamster wheel. Like, we were so close for me to go full time and do this other stuff. And then we took this huge hit, and I'm just like, oh, we're like on the 5-yard line, and I just got sacked to like the 50. And I'm just like, holy smokes, dude. Like, this is rough, but we'll get through it. Like, it's the bumps and bruises along the way, right? And we're better for it now because I can see all the warning signs that I was avoiding because I got emotional on getting the deal done.
Yeah, those things kind of happen, right? Sometimes it takes those lessons, right? You know, those are hard lessons to learn, though, right? Because they're attached with monetary, right?
For sure.
I can relate. And I was talking to Mike and Paul earlier, and sometimes we give people tens, right? We're emotional, like you said, emotionally. We just give someone a 10, right? Like you said, he has this line of credit. You saw the money. Okay, cool. And I just have learned over time, I think we should give people 0 and make them earn the 10 instead of giving them a 10 and then you end up a 0, right? And I think we all lose having that perspective. We all kind of lose. But I think if we start at 0, the cream is always going to rise to the top, right? And it just provides a layer of protection also. Like, let's see, like you said, prove yourself, trust but verify, right?
Totally.
Those are things that are kind of very important.
Yeah. And even just starting at a 5, right? There's still some wiggle room, right? You still have to earn my trust to get into a position where we're going to do anything, or it could go down, right? It's up to you on how you're going to operate. But yeah, for sure. I mean, that was the biggest thing. Emotions got into it. And it's like having those just the worst possible outcomes in my brain. Like, oh, if I can't perform on this house, the other 2 deals are going to fall apart, yada, yada, yada. This guy's got 5 other houses he wants to sell me. And it's just like, if I would have had that conversation knowing that seller and be like, "Hey, bro, we just got to wait on this one for a little bit. Like, I can't get the money lined up," he would have been chill, and we could have avoided that situation and been in a lot better position now. But again, like, hey, hindsight's 2020, and can't go back and change it. All we can do is how we respond to what happened to us. So it's all good.
Yeah, just go a little corner and shed a couple tears and come out swinging.
Yeah, exactly. Right? Yeah.
Adam, I didn't want to hold the time. I'm gonna end up calling you again. But if y'all didn't know, I bug Adam
anytime I'm in
on a regular basis.
Oh yeah.
He opened my eyes up to sober living, pretty much. And
okay,
man, I've just been running to it, full steam ahead with it. And thanks to you, Adam, I actually have I'm working on building a relationship with Oxford House because of Adam. Thank you, brother. Thank you so
Absolutely,
much
man.
for that pointer.
Hey,
Uh,
you're doing the things though. I just kind of pointed you in the right direction, but you still got to take the action. So I mean,
that's a
kudos to
fact.
you for actually implementing what we talked about.
Thank you, man. I actually going out well Saturday during my lunch break to
Nice.
to do a showing with an agent and the representative for a potential property, man. So I'm
Love it.
hoping it goes well. But I'm curious actually now that I bring it up. How did you get in? How were you introduced me to sober living? How did you
Mhm.
get introduced to it?
Yeah, so very similar to the coffee shop, it kind of fell into my lap. And so I've got a buddy here. We had done a couple flips before. He had never really done wholesaling, but he was working on like get building up his pipeline to get leads in, right? And so he stumbled across a guy who we found out was like a dispo manager for a bank, so that he had access to REO properties. And so that's how the first flip that we did together, we ended up buying it solely because the dispo manager said, "Hey, if you guys can make this a smooth transaction, I'll send you all of our inventory nationwide before we give it to an agent." And I was like, "Okay, this is in the middle of nowhere. I would never flip here, but even if we take a bath on this flip, this is $1 million relationship if he actually does what he says he's going to do, right?" And so we do the flip. We make like 40 grand. There was like 5 or 6 people on it, so it was nominal money. But it was they get to check that box. The first flip's done, cool, and now we solidify this relationship.
Yeah.
So the second house he sent is the end up being our sober house in Knoxville, Tennessee, and numbers are looking decent. But I drive up there. The initial plan was to do short-term rentals. I want to do an Airbnb. This house is 5 minutes from the University of Tennessee, big football school. Like would have been the bachelor pad heaven, right? Had an unfinished basement. We were gonna put a bowling alley in there, arcade. Like it was gonna be the most pimp Airbnb you'd ever been to. And so I reached out to a buddy that was boots on the ground up there in Sub 2 to go take some pictures and stuff. And I was telling him what we were planning, and he's like, "Bro, I'd really check with the city if that's even possible because they're cracking down hard on Airbnbs here." And sure enough, they haven't banned them, but they have essentially made it impossible to run as an out-of-state investor. You have to own the property in your personal name. It has to be your primary residence, which how? And then
Wow.
there was some other stipulation. I was like, all right, well that's out. Can't do that.
Oh
And
wait,
so
just really
yeah,
quick. You
yeah,
have to own. It has to be your primary residence for
yep,
Airbnb.
correct.
That's crazy. I'm sorry, but
And it's
I
got to
just
be in your personal name, not an entity. And so, yeah, and all my partners that were going to be in on that deal all live here in North Carolina. And I was like, well, womp, there's nothing we can do there. And so, next year, I'm just kind of going down the list of exits, right? And so I was like, all right, maybe midterm rental would work. There's a hospital right next to the college. I could put nurses in here, but this house is huge. It's a 5-bed, 3-bath house, and maybe it could have worked as like a co-living scenario, but me in my brain, if I'm a traveling nurse that gets paid to live somewhere, I don't want to live with strangers if I don't have to, right? And so it's like I don't think this really makes sense. Long-term rental was like but I don't want to manage a house 6 hours away. I have a couple that are 3 hours away and it's already a headache. I don't want to do that. And there wasn't really much room for a lift as a flip because this is the biggest and baddest house in this neighborhood, and it was a sleepy part of town, right? Not a lot of comps. And I'm just racking my brain. We were still under contract on our due diligence period. And I was like, dude, there's got to be something we can do here. And so I'm just going through the Zoom vault, looking at different exit strategies, and sober popped up. And I was like, I'm pretty sure I know somebody that's doing this. And so I reached out to a guy in Greensboro, another sub 2 student. His name's Tom Illingworth, and he had worked with Oxford in the past. And so I reached out. I was like, "Yo, Tom, like, how's the experience been? Is it working?" He's like, "Dude, those are my best rentals. They're super easy. They pay me on time every month." And I was like, "Do you happen to know anybody in Tennessee?" He's like, "Well, I know the main guy, or I know his name. I've never talked to him personally, but like, here's his number." So I called him, couldn't get him. I just ended up going on Google and typed in Oxford House, Tennessee, and they had a website with all of their regional reps on it. And so I called up the Knoxville one, and I was just like, "Hey, I'm a local real estate investor. We come across properties all the time. Do you guys have a specific need for housing? Because I'd love to partner with you and bring you guys some some homes for these folks, and they were like, oh my god, yes, like when can we go look at one? And I was like, you can go look right now, it's vacant on lockbox. And so they go. 45 minutes later, it calls me back, we love it, this is amazing, when can we move in? Mind you, this house had been empty, vacant REO property for 2 years. It needs all the work. And I was like, well, pump the brakes, guys. Like, I'm excited that you're excited, but I got to do a full rehab on this thing. And so we solidified that, got the lease in place, all that good stuff, and then closed, did the rehab. And then now it's been operating for about 7 months, and we just completed the refi out of the hard money like 3 days ago. So now that one's on long-term debt, and the overall plan is to do a build out on the lot. The house sits on an acre, and so my goal is to put 4 modular homes on the same lot, do it the same sober strategy, and basically have like a sober living compound within this like smaller neighborhood where I can cash flow like a multifamily, but I'm on a single family tax card, and then make the impact, because it's a huge need in that area. Like, my rep calls me once a month asking for more houses, and I just can't find any that fit the mark. And so it's like, if I can't find it, why don't I just build it?
Have you ever thought about, or with this company, what's it called? Oxford, right?
Oxford House, yeah.
Yeah, Oxford House. Have you ever looked into see if they provide any type of funding also, that maybe since you do have a contract with them, they can probably do a in advance to your contract, so this can help you to reinvest in the property so you can expand.
Right.